Second stop on the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup Tour is Winterberg in Germany. It's a blustery Sunday morning, but the start area is full, ready to make the noise for the first of our two heats to decide race 2 of the season. Martin Haven, John Morgan alongside me. Welcome everybody to the home of the last year's World Championships. John, it's a tough track to find the time from.
A very easy track to get down, difficult to get down fast, as we've seen in the previous 4 competitions so far. Track built in the early 70s, but they altered the track in 77, long straightaway here, and they put a little corner in here, and this really has changed the challenge on this track. We call it the zero curve. A lot of challenges for the athletes coming in and out of that curve. Up here now it's curve 1, 2. This is all really slow down the track. In fact, on the exit of the Omega curve here, it's uphill, 3, and here you cannot make any mistakes. It's almost like a graveyard of time on this track. 5, 6, 7, the curves above the Kreisel. You need to let the sled run into Kreisel. Consistent line. And the slingshot effect as you exit the curve, this is where it starts to pick up speed. 85, 90 kilometers, 100 kilometers right here, curve 9, 110. This is a big challenge, curve 9, 10, because you're going close to 80 miles an hour. Down to the 3-corner combination, the labyrinths, every track's got to have one. Then you come into the finish and you got to exit going uphill. You can still lose some time in the last 50 meters. And again, real easy to get down, tough to get down fast.
Start record set in January 2014. Track record, Nico Walther's 4-man crew in the final runs of the World Championships in February this year. There's Stephen Holcomb, looking for a little bit of redemption here, suffering with a thigh strain. Very blustery this morning, John. Temperatures probably not going to play that much of a factor, but the start area, that can really channel the wind into the crew's faces when they're pushing off. Rico Peter is the first of 23 sleds from 13 nations, and when we go into Heat 2, only the fastest 20 will go through. So 3 crews will join the fans on the sidelines to watch the second heat.
Start, it's free. You draw in the first 10 sleds in the World Cup ranking have a pool. They draw the names out, and Rico Peter here, he drew the #1 seat.
A chauffeur and landscape gardener, 32-year-old Rico Peter. Joined the Swiss national team in 2011.
First rabbits, watch him get in, get down, little choreography on ice, and we saw a mistake immediately. The #3 guy came in and almost collapsed the sled on the other side. So the load into that sled is so important, especially with that curve 0 looming. You can throw away that whole race in the first 75 meters. Be interesting to see what kind of speeds we got yesterday in the 2-man. It was a lot quicker than we thought.
Yeah, it was very cold overnight, Friday into Saturday, and the track was lightning quick yesterday. A little warmer, more overcast last night.
Pretty windy, so it makes a lot of ripples on the ice. They're going to really watch themselves. Temperatures fluctuate like this. Watch how quick you look at the heads here. Nice and smooth right there. Ooh, that was rough.
Yeah, big rattle down into the finish corner.
Won't be the last. Ooh, right there where the brakeman's head came up quick, 134.8.
Bit of a bumpy ride, this track. I was talking to Torsten Margis, and he said, yeah, this is one of those tracks I don't really like. Now, a lot of people would say that about Altenburg last week, because it's quite tricky to get down safely, but he said this one really just gets your back all the time.
A lot of pressure, especially down in 9, 10, 11. Watch the start. Watch the guy on the left side of the screen. Comes in, might catch his foot.
Yeah.
So, again, they've done this 100 times together. Maybe 200 times already, dry land, and first heat here, we see a mistake right off the bat.
Fourth
Ooh, look at airborne.
Yeah.
When you get a 4-man bobsled airborne like that, boy, you are close to being in some severe danger.
Next up is Max Arndt of Germany, our 2-time consecutive 4-man world champion. The last time we had 4-man racing here, he won the World Championship gold medal.
Once these Germans get in, proficient, only a 5:15 start.
Where Max makes up for it is his ability to drive a four-man, to thread it down this track better than anyone else.
200s should have been better than that. Surprise, especially with the Swiss mistake. Arndt, world champion last year, he won only by 200ths of a second over his teammate Rico Walther, who's coming with a couple sleds. Expect him to be 10, 1500ths ahead of Rico Peter at the bottom. Well, remember how the problems Peter had down here.
If he's clean here,
doesn't have the speed, and he's got a big skid.
300ths only ahead of Rico Peter.
Wow! Get him up.
28. Well, two things. First, Christoph Lang and Dustin think that was one of Max Arndt's top draw drives. And secondly, Rico Peter, fourth last week, has put in another good four-man run.
The Germans did great yesterday in the two-man. The Latvians had 3 sleds in the top 6. But the German women's sleds and some of the German men's sleds lost time in the bottom part of the track. Speeds were...
It was really only Francesco Friedrich who got the best out of it yesterday.
Watch him down here in the back end here. Watch him sled airborne.
Yep.
Yeah, a little bit skidding. So that's 2 for 2. The track is eating up these world best four-man pilots. Rennie Spies, the
quicker than in training. Training was very different conditions. Bit of rain, bit of fog, bit of cloud, bit of sun, but it wasn't as cold and fast as this. Next up from Russia, 32-year-old Alexander Kasjanov. One of his coaches is a double Olympic luge competitor, Viktor Knip of Russia. These guys, second in the World Cup standings overall at the end of last season, but only 9th last week.
Had a great first heat in two-man bobsled. Doesn't get the start in two-man, four-man. He should get a better start here.
Look at that, nice
late
load.
With the push bar, it'll come in late. Boy, start speed, 43 kilometers. Keep track of that. We'll find he should be within 200-300s here at the next clock. If not, they had a mistake at 5. So, what do we say? We got to find another term for stop the bleeding?
I don't know. I think it expresses it quite well when you're hemorrhaging time.
Yeah, he's hemorrhaging time.
800ths of a second behind after.
Yeah, he's probably going to go out to 10 or 12. Yeah. I'm really impressed now with Rico Peter. Oh, watch out here. Real dip there. That's unlike him. This
got it off safely.
Boy, he had a really good first run out of the track in the two-man. And I mean, we're saying he's only going to be 12, 1300ths out. Doesn't have the speed.
No, Rico Peter.
13. Not impressed. Look at Pierre Luders. You think he's impressed?
Not often impressed, is he?
Well, their coaches know how to wear that result right on their foreheads.
Yeah. Best ever World Cup result, silver medal behind his then teammate Alexander Kasjanov.
He won a World Cup in Winterberg, Whistler, 2011, 12 season.
He was second behind Kasjanov.
Was it?
Yeah, that's when they went right behind Zubkov. Then they went 1-2. That's still his standout result. Good season for Kasjanov last year, but hasn't really started the way that they would have liked. I'm talking about starting the way they would have liked. How about these guys? Next up, the Latvians, 4:98, the start record for Oskars Kibermanis and his four-man crew. Now, he hasn't got Daumas Driskins in the boat today. Driskins pushed the two-man yesterday, but he's nursing an Achilles.
Bardis was the leader at the end of 3 heats last year in the World Championships. Made a mistake here at the start in the 4th run and ended up with the bronze medal.
5:05, that's a big getaway.
The speed, 45.8. The Latvians, they have a few athletes in that on this bobsled team. Half of them are decathletes. So he should be 10 down to 9. So if something happened around that first curve, he should have taken that start advantage and extended it. So if we see down to 6 or 7 here, that mistake's go. It's way down. So he's got something going on in curve 2, 3.
He lost his here though.
Lost his momentum at the start. Now it's red numbers. Red's not good.
Green, he's in front. Red, he's behind the current leader, pulling 4.5, 5.
Watch the exit here. smooth.
He gets a good
maybe too smooth.
Could close to within single digits.
Not good. Boy, I'm these times a little alarming to me.
Okay, so here's a couple of things to ponder. Very fast at the start, losing time all the way down the track, but seem to have better control on the high-speed corners. Have they gone for a slightly different runner setup that is cutting too much ice?
No, I think now my suspicions tell me it's the track. Just the first guy down had a huge advantage because Max Arndt should have beat Rico Peter by more than 1/100th of a second. Look at the choreography on ice, we call it. Beautiful. Nice teamwork. He's confused, look. He doesn't know.
Wasn't a bad drive, but it didn't look like a good end.
If we don't see this German team challenge get real close to the top, I'm saying the track is the suspect here.
25-year-old Nico Walther, last year his first at the senior level, silver in the World Championships. And he was in the silver medal position in the four-man last week in Altenburg, his home track, where he was only beaten by fellow Altenburg native Francesco Friedrich.
Very disappointing in the two-man yesterday, went from 3rd to 6th. Same thing he did last week in the two-man, so he's a little bit of a slump, sophomore slump. But he can rebound nicely with a second consecutive medal in four-man bobsled to open the season. Young former luge athlete, 5:19.4. Not very good start speed at all. But let's see if he can get around here and not bleed away a lot of time, not beat 10-1200s down here. That's not bad. That's a good sign to me that he can take that efficiency. That was against Melbardis. For the rest of the time down, it's him and Arndt head-to-head here.
Yep, still in the red numbers.
6-6. Tap there, though. That's going to cost him. Yep. Arndt was pretty clean on that entrance.
Nice exit.
7. Going to be behind Rico Peter. Nice out of 9. Oh, late there.
Well, Arndt and Peter only 100th apart. Effectively, you've got to consider as one man. You're either in front of both or behind both.
Aces for 3rd. Yep. 134 speed.
3rd in front of Kasjanov.
He came back in the bottom a little bit.
55.36, only 800s behind. Definitely in medal contention then. Hubi knocks him on the helmet. Marco Hubenbecker. And new man on the back of the sled, Philip Verbeto.
Replay. Look at this. This is up here, curve 3, and then here's into the labyrinths. Back end. Not bad. Oh, there hasn't been a sled get through there clean except for Melbardis, and he's the slowest of the field.
Max Arndt leads by 100th from Rico Peter. Silver medalist Nico Walther in 3rd spot. Next up for Great Britain, Lamin Dean, 34-year-old Grenadier Guardsman. These guys were 5th in the world, trained very well in the four-man during the week, and lots of speed potential. Can he realize it in the race?
This should be a rocket start. These guys have been impressive last year at the World Championships and get better as a team all the time. Boy, they're late though, getting in the sled. Speed, 45, good. That's really good speed, but a little tap there.
Yeah, Lamin couldn't get himself in, and everybody else waiting to sit down.
The brakeman, Andrew Matthews, he says he hates everything about snow and ice and cold weather. So I got to call him out on that, Andrew. What are you doing here, man? The Olympic dream must be that much of a draw.
Closing now, down to 900s, bringing the gap back.
Second best start, pretty much what they did last year. Losing time.
Yeah.
You know, that's real high there. Whoa! Big problem when you get a four-man in a skid down here when it's 75, 80 miles an hour. Pretty rough ride for Lamin Dean. This isn't what he was doing in practice.
55.66. Well, 6 at the moment. If that keeps him in the top 10, you'll be surprised.
British expected much. Look at this. Bad problem with the brakes.
No brakes, no
No
brakes.
brakes. They're going off all the way.
On the concrete.
Oh, my God. Dude.
So that has destroyed the runners.
Now we're going to have a little bit of a delay, number one. Number two, these runners,
Yeah.
You're right. And you're talking about an expensive piece of equipment. Those 4 runners just went across the sand. The jury's going to be watching them. Either going to have to replace them or they're going to have a lot of sand work. They get in here too late.
Yeah.
I mean, look at our line. They're waiting. The number 2 guy's waiting for number 3 to get down. John Baines, number 3 guy, still not in.
Yeah.
So the 2 guy, I mean, they should be settled by now.
Should be
They're
sat
going
down,
into the
arms
first
in.
curve. Look, they're still dealing with trying to get in. And then down here, curve 9. Then he comes out at 9. Watch this skid. It's tough to get a 4-man sled in a skid like that, but when you're skidding like that, this big piece of equipment across the ice, and then the brakes failed. Looks like he's got them on.
He's got them on, but you can see they're not down evenly. It's that big rake underneath, and it was only dragging with like the bottom left-hand corner. So it looks like one of the brake levers, one of the
Look where they're
welds in
going
there
to.
is snapped.
It's the first time I've ever seen somebody go off the track that way.
Yeah,
they aren't
me
even
too.
coming back down the track.
It's right down below us, and it's so far off to the end to our right, can't even see them out of our window.
Now they're going to turn the sled on its side, and they're going to have to,
push
I
it
don't know
back
how,
along.
how they're going to get that.
Well, they're going to have to turn it around, as you say, on its side, and then push it down along. In fact,
they're gone out of our view here.
Yeah.
We're right here next to the finish ramp, but we can't see.
they've dropped down into the woods.
So now these guys got a delay. I wouldn't be surprised if you got another few minutes here. The jury might tell them to put their jackets back on here.
Wenn der Runden ist im Auslauf.
Simone Bertazzo of Italy and his guys waiting. Carefully warmed up muscles, peaking at exactly the right time, and now they're standing there getting chilly.
We haven't seen that too often in our career here.
No.
Usually they stop up there someplace, but
See, now that is above, that is on the roof of the changing block down at the finish area.
Andrew Matthews is the brakeman.
Yeah, and he was hauling with all he had, and they just were not digging into the ice.
Right away after crossing the finish line.
Couldn't tell when he came up the finish straight if he was braking, if the brakes were really grabbing. We just took it for granted. We just something you just take for granted.
Well, like your own road car, you know, you go for the middle pedal, and if it's not there, then all of a sudden it's a massive panic. And he will have hauled on the little handles down in the floor, and either immediately or at some stage when they were trying to slow the sled, the thing has snapped and just flown straight through the station. And that happened to Bertazzo a couple of years ago, didn't it? Remember, he was suffering with a hamstring injury. He sat in the sled at the start, and then in La Plagne, they hauled on the brakes. It just went straight through the finish building and out the far end. It's like a runaway train, and that's exactly what happened to our British sled then too. So at the top, the tall figure in the white, there's Lamin Dean looking very disconsolate. Not the day he was hoping for.
Well, it wasn't a great drive down the track. He made mistakes all the way down, including their team couldn't get in. Now he's got to gather himself and go back up.
Bad day at the office, do you know what? Yeah, he will. He will get a second run. But again now, you know, it's into the rule book to find out what the deal is with the runners. This is where we need Pete Gunn in our ear to tell us exactly what the deal is, or Tom Delahunty, one of those guys who have digested it inside and out.
Well, I'm sure the Scuttlebutt's gone through all the teams up there. You know, what happened? What's the delay? The British didn't put the brakes on. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean they didn't put the brakes on? Well, he went out to finish it. What?
Yeah.
No one's ever seen that.
Couple of big TV screens up there in the area where all the sleds are kept, so
all the mechanics,
will be aware.
all the mechanics are out there now checking everybody's brakes. That's
Well, they
what that's
can't because
done.
the sleds are in parc fermé.
Well, they're still looking at them.
Yeah. They're crossing everything. So from Cortina in the Dolomites, the Carabinieri, 33-year-old Simone Bertazzo, ready to go now for Italy.
Pretty good result last week in Altenburg, driver's track. Cohesion, pretty good. Was start, not very good. Speed, you know, not bad for that time. And Simon Bertazzo, experienced pilot. See if he can keep the bleeding quarter-second down, boy. That's
going to be tough.
It's going to be tough to have him stay within 40 4500s at the bottom.
He's 3500s down at the second clock, and at the bottom, the Brits were only 3800s behind, and that's 2/3 of a kilometre further down the track.
In Altenburg, he could hide his start time with great driving, which he's right up there. If there was a way to scale the drivers, he'd be in the top 3 or 4.
4/10, so he has pretty much stopped hemorrhaging time.
Good speed, 135 clicks, but you get down the bottom part of the track, whether you got a good start or not. 4400s, considering where he was, 26, 3000s down around the exit of Kreisel, that's not too bad.
Well, 2/10s behind at the start, 4400s behind at the bottom. Empirically, that's not a bad drive. You normally multiply a start deficit by 2.5 or 3.
Hey, he's only 2000s behind Mel Bardis. Mel Bardis beat him by 2100s at the start.
There you go. No wonder Mel Bardis was looking confused at his drive.
Yeah. Here's what's the front of the sled here. Ooh, almost digs into the...
Yeah. Big articulation there as the left-hand runner climbs the wall.
4-mans are like big trucks.
It's a lot of weight to be shifting.
2-mans are like little sports cars.
When the truck gets sideways, boy, it takes some bringing back. Next up is our double 2-man world champion, Francesco Friedrich. Last week in Altenburg, won both 2-man and 4-man races. Funnily enough, he took the gold medal here yesterday in the 2-man as well.
He's on a roll. Look how quickly this is. This is how to do it right there.
Well,
507.
It's a unique way they load, but Janis Becker, the man at 2, always bends double over the driver to give the guys behind as much room as possible before he then rocks back and sits in.
Didn't have great start speed, but he's got big time numbers. He had an 800s lead on Arndt at the start, so knowing what we know about this Francesco Friedrich, he could be on his way to sweeping another weekend like he did last weekend. I said last weekend, this is my pick to win double gold at the World Championships. He's got 2 great athletes not even with him. Oh, big mistake! As soon as I talked about how good he was, he almost crashed.
You're on fire.
He lost everything. Oh, what a jinx.
Well, still tied for the lead. No,
Oh,
700s
man.
back.
Oh, wow.
So 4 sleds covered by 800s at the top of the pile. Arndt and Peter 100th apart, then Friedrich, then Walther, also 100th apart, 3rd and 4th.
He is human.
Yes, he
He's
is.
been on such a zone in the first 6 competition runs of the season, and then he fell asleep, exited 9. What happens? He come down here too quick?
Yeah.
He comes down too, no.
Yeah, just allowed it to come down
And
a
then the
little
back
early.
end gets in a big skid here. That's late. Oh, how could you get a 4-man like that? I mean,
Hey, you hit the wall with something doing that speed.
that shows you how much time you can lose on the bottom part of the track. This, you know, that down at 13, 14. Look at Christoph Langen. How was the ride, Christoph?
It was not so bad. He could still win it from there. 800s
With
of a
that
second.
start time, he could definitely win it from there. He's
no
way
question.
ahead at the start.
Next up then is our Latvian Oskars Kibermanis, the second of our 3 Latvian sleds. This 22-year-old, the youngest in the crew.
5th place yesterday.
5th last week in the 4-man as well.
5th. Latvians had 3 sleds in the top 6. 509 rocket start, 45.7 speed. But the other Latvian sled didn't have very good time down the track, lost it all the way down. Let's see what Kibermanis does. He should be out there 9-10 better than that. He'll be red numbers here pretty quick. There it is. Something wrong with the Latvians going through curve 3, curve 2, 3, the Omega curve.
Well, that's what Mel Bardis was saying was his key focus in the World Championships last year. Remember, he said corner 1 and 2, 3, that's where I'm losing everything.
Look how much time he's lost here. Friedrich just showed us that the time was there if he didn't make that big mistake. This isn't good. He's late. Oh, the sled got away from him 9-10.
Yep. Across the line in ninth
With that
place.
start time, third best start. He didn't even beat Bertazzo. He beat Bertazzo by 1,700s at the top, lost to him by 5 at the bottom. He didn't beat Romanian, who, what do you say about Elvis?
Well, yeah, Lamandine had a very rocky ride. Kibermanis didn't look that bad, did it? So
boy, but he
again,
lost everything out of curve 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So something going on with the Latvians. They can't get through curves 2 and 3, take advantage of the superior start times. And if I'm sitting there, Rico Peter, I'm liking where I am, man. Only 100th out of the lead.
No kidding.
And he didn't have a clean ride.
I don't think you do here now. The track's
Watch
so small.
watch out. He goes in the left side of our screen. Should have been more on the right. And then he comes late into 10. Watch how high he gets here in 10. Look at this, way above the runner marks. Now watch the runner tips there. He's got to steer down. When he steers down, he's still trying to catch up down here. Watch the violence on the right side of your screen. You know, skidding.
Yep.
That's driver error there.
Canada's Justin Kripps, 28-year-old, born in Hawaii. Now lives in British Columbia.
Very commercial.
Neat-looking load, wasn't it?
44.8, little skid though. You know, so he's down, you know, 10 or 12. If he stays within 10 or 12 here. 11, not bad. Okay. So, no more sutures needed, hopefully, and he'll stay around 12, 1500s. No. Big deficiency, a big loss of time there between 5 and 6. Now the question is, how much the track's got left for the sleds coming down from this point out.
Good exit from 9, nice and neat. Keep what speed you've got.
Watch the heads. Ooh, there was some airborne there.
The last transition onto the finish curve.
58. Now the times just get progressively worse. Now going hunting, stuff on Bosch. This is where he finished yesterday. Canadians 10th and 11th in the 2-man.
Well, yesterday the track was producing speed all the way down the 28 runners in the first heat, and then for the top 20 in the second heat. Wherever you were, you could find pace. Looks like today, not so much. It's much warmer. .516 at the getaway.
Well, decent start. Skid here. This is what's the airborne back left runner. Then it bounces up in the air, and now he dives into the next curve and has to steer, and steering and friction and loss of time.
Max Arndt and Rico Peter, 100th apart. Close battle for the medals here in Winterberg. Benny Meyer for Austria. 21-year-old Benny, his father Manfred is the coach. His brother Raphael slides skeleton for the country.
Sammer, one of the brakemen, he was driver yesterday.
Yep.
Not bad, decent. Speed's great, 45.1. They all got in the cat-like movement. See what Benny can do. He didn't do very good the 2-man yesterday. He crushed the wall before curve 0 and eliminated all chance to finish top 20, get a second run.
Yeah, in a big field like 28 sleds, any mistake there, you're parked.
He was top 10 here in the first heat last week. Skid.
10th at the moment ahead of Justin Kripps on the split times.
Watch the heads. Transition on and off the curves. Those heads flying left to right, I'll tell you, not good transitions. Ooh, a little high there. And he's really late. Watch out. He's still not got control. Yeah, he did. They, you know, to regain control of the sled down there like he just did, took a lot of steering.
Yeah. Hauling it back under control.
There's Manfred's father.
It's like when you haul on the reins to rein in a horse, it has the same effect.
What's he, only 21?
Yeah. A lot of potential in the future for this young man.
Well, he's going to make top 20 just today, so we'll see him in the second run. Watch this. Into Kreisel. That might be the worst line we've seen yet.
Yeah.
Into Kreisel. And that's just pivotal. You can't do that.
Sends him in
And then
high.
down here, curve 10. Now watch the sled climb. He's way above the runner marks, way up there. So look at the rudder tips steering down, and when you steer like that down late, he's way late. He's got to come over, and you know it just compounds for 2 or 3 more curves before he gets control of the sled, and that causes he has to do a lot of steering to do it.
It's where the brakemen nearly feel their backside is higher than their head. He was almost inverted there. Close escape for the Austrians. Next up is 28-year-old Muscovite Alexey Stulnev. Still struggling with this injured knee that he cut badly in a crash in training last week. And how fast is he going to run? Half a dozen strides. That's a full run. He's obviously feeling stronger now. Good start. Look at that. And again, look at the way they got into that butter.
Very well disciplined. And Stulnev gets his 6 stitches out of his knee tomorrow. They've been in there for, let's see, 11 days, 12 days. Gets them all out tomorrow. So he's been a red badge of courage here for the first couple of weeks of the season. This isn't bad. Only 200's down. This is the best we've seen in 10 sleds. Let's see if he can hold into 9. Watch the line here. Watch the rudder tips. Watch the energy coming at us. Nice. Smooth. Watch the heads here in the last curve. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Only 15 back. This is a good run.
You can see him in 5th position at the line.
Yeah,
6 steps.
Listen, that shows somebody can come from the back of the field and do well. This is what his teammate Kasjanov did yesterday in the first run in 2-man, but in the second run, wasn't there. So, you know, sometimes sleds have great first runs and not second runs. I've seen that in the Russian program for a while now.
Only 900s behind Kasjanov, and Kasjanov started 3rd. Stulnev started 12th.
400's better start. Look how low he is. See some heads rolling around back there, though. See, that head should be more stiff.
Well, with all those errors, it shows there is definitely speed to be found still in the
Number 3
ice.
is way too high. Number 3 head is way too high. You can see that. You shouldn't see those heads bobbing around down there at all for aerodynamics, especially on the bottom part of this track.
He's quite a new guy, actually, at 3, Pavel Utkin. Wasn't on the World Cup tour last year.
He's that new sprinter that they brought in.
Alexey's looking quite happy with that, isn't he?
You'd be happy, too, if you came from that position.
Well, I'd be happy to get it down without using my head. Next up, August Allen's quick off for the Latvian, 29-year-old fireman.
He's got some veterans on this team. Decent start. Speed, 40, no, we see speed.
42,
45, too, not bad.
Keep talking about how many decathletes they've found. August Allen's gained for the Latvian bobsleigh team a loss to the sport of tug of war.
He's the only one of his kind in the competition.
There are some left field sports in ice sliding. Tug of war is the first and only, I think.
Little skid, big skid into the nose. It's going to be costly.
Really hauled it down there to get it onto the Kreisel.
He finished 6th yesterday with a major mistake here in the Exeter 9 right here. The 2-man, 4-man, he's not perfect there. Heads are a little high. Boy, you can see a lot of head back there.
He's really driving it hard, though, isn't he? He's really steering it hard. You can see the front keep coming back in line.
That was late. 13th. He's 13 out of 13. 6th best start. There's Janis Prusis. Sanders Prusis, excuse me. Laughing a little bit, but hey, we saw the Latvians last night, our favorite watering hole, and they were very excited about 3 sleds in the top 6 in Winterberg.
Can't argue with that, can you?
No.
Can't argue with that. If they could get 3 in the 4-man, this Prusis would think Christmas had come early.
Watch the left side of your screen. Watch this sled, the nose of the sled going. That's going the wrong direction to get on the curve.
And that's why he hauls it down so it doesn't back into the Kreisel.
And then when he does catch up, you saw a big head slap where the head's all just adjusted to the take-on. And look at the back end here, airborne. Well, he's not the only Ranger to do that.
And that's just the way you get through there.
It's almost like those labyrinths. Sleds are too fast. The track's almost, these sleds are coming too fast for this track.
Definitely. Lloyd Kosteg, the forestry technician from near Lapland, 28-year-old Frenchman. First World Cup race weekend of the season. They were here in European Cup racing last week, not in the World Cup in Altenburg.
coached by Bruno Majon. Max Robert, Bruno Majon's brakeman at the, he's the push coach. Max Robert was on the brakes for the World Championship that Bruno won in '99 and the Olympic bronze medal in four-man bob in Nagano. So the Swiss or the French are really trying to rebuild their program, and they have a lot of hopes in Coach there, who's from La Plagne. Right there in La Plagne this year. We're going to miss it. Great track.
It's a great track. Kostag at the moment, 14th place on the run. So he's now in the zone where we're looking at who's not going to make the second heat.
He made it yesterday. Barely. Ooh, late there. Airborne. 12-13 there. 33, 10th best speed, 14th best time at the bottom, 14-14. There's Bruno on the right, Max Robert on the left. Best French team, maybe in the history of the sport.
Yep.
They were.
Certainly Bruno is the most outstanding French driver in bobsleigh history.
La Plagne native himself. Start. Get in. Look at the number 2 guy waiting. Number 3 guys in. Choreography on ice. Now watch the arms. Okay, guys, let's put all the arms up together. Up 2 in there. Little music to this. Get in. Hold on.
So how much speed remains in the track? I was talking to a very happy Nick Cunningham this morning. Came from 22nd start draw to finish 5th in the 2-man. You would consider a top 10 here a good result.
Well, Cunningham was nursing an injury last week and had the 8th best start both runs yesterday. That has a lot to do with his success in the night train ones. 8th best start here. Start speed decent.
He was saying we got the band back together now. The boys are really working well.
That was some great positive for the U.S. team, which was a little rocky coming in here. The women only had 1 bronze medal last week in Altenburg, and they won double gold and silver here yesterday. And then the men, Cunningham carried the flag with the 4th place finish. So
4th, yeah.
They needed that. They needed that for some mojo.
8th at the start, down to 12th on split times though. This is not going the direction he was hoping for. Back up to 11th as he comes off 9.
Not bad there. Pretty good lines. This is where he was fast on the bottom part of the track yesterday. Watch out here. Looks a little late. No. Boy, speed's decent.
4.5 you said was going to be the problem for him. 12th place.
34.1, 7th best speed on the bottom. So Cunningham showing he can drive the bottom part of the track. There's the U.S. girls.
Yeah. He's on the break team.
This Cunningham's developing a good team. Most of these guys, these 2 or 3 of these guys with them all last year.
Yeah.
Sam Mishner was, the Oregonian, was up with Holcomb a couple races. But, you know, this is, they've got 150 times they've done this already. Look at the arms. Look at that cohesion there. It's pretty good. Great. That's why they had the 8th best start. We'll give them an A.
Yeah. Disappointed with that. Rocky down at the bottom, Cunningham. Max Arndt, Rico Peter. Good as tied for the lead here in the first of our 2 heats. 15 sleds down. Only 5 more spots in the race. Martin Haven, John Morgan with you watching who of the remaining 8 sleds gets to go again. This is Russia's Nikita Zaharov, 28-year-old.
1 of 3 Russian sleds in the competition. Zakharov's been driving for a number of years. Not bad. Well disciplined, the Russian team. Their coach, Pierre Lutters, had a little discipline in his day when he was competing. So 8, that's not bad. Stay within single digits there at the slow part of the track, the exit at 3. Now we just hopefully 15 or 20 here at the next. That's good. Ooh, a little tab.
Top 10 at the moment. He's having a tidier run than Nick Cunningham did just in front of him.
Hans Walther, the guy who maintains their sleds, sells them their sleds, told me last night, he says the material's running good for the Russians.
Skidding, skidding.
4,300's back. This is not bad. Not great either.
Still top 10 though, and at the line he's in 11th. He is 500s behind Kibermanis.
Aktuell aber kommt so nicht unter 55, 82, da ist auf.
We're looking at the board now. That's locks him in for sure.
Yep, he's in for sure.
Good run. The material is running well. 8th best start, 11th best finish.
Speed not bad at the bottom. 133 is 82.5 miles an hour.
Watch the back end here. Exit into the Chrysler or into the little tap there. It's so minute, but minute's hundreds of seconds. And when the sled's still trying to accelerate, here's 9. Boy, look clean out of 9. Watch the runner tips here. Boy, he snuck over, got on that take on where he wanted. Well, back end maybe a little bit of a skid.
Back end was coming down the middle of the track, wasn't it? It wasn't intent on going up the wall. That makes the take on a little sharp. For the Czech Republic, Jan Verber, coached by Ivo Danilevich, the 2007 European.
Ivo's over there coaching the Koreans now.
Oh, yes, he is, isn't he? Best ever result for the Czech Republic was Jan's 5th in Altenburg a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, we expected him to do better last week, but crashed in practice. They had a real hassle last week with taking the sled back to Prague, rebuilding it. Someone had to drive up here to Winterberg to get the Europa Cup sled down so they could qualify. They had to make 2 trips with that to qualify to get in the race. They got the sled back from Prague the night before and didn't have a very good result. But they like the equipment. They're positive about their season. They just have to get through that Altenburg mishap. So they were very happy to see Altenburg in their rearview mirror.
High-stress weekend for Jan Verber. This weekend's been a little more straightforward. 16th place at the moment, ahead of Lloyd Kosterg of France. If he can creep up to 15th ahead of Ugo Salims, that'll be 2 of the 3 sleds behind him that he needs to guarantee a spot in the race.
Very smooth run.
16th place.
Only ahead of the French. But, very commercial run. He was right down the middle of the track. 16th, 15th best start time.
Again, a sled that's pretty new to him, this one. So he may have gone for a more conservative runner approach just to guarantee him the control he wants. Didn't want to wreck it a second week.
Yeah, they're still trying to get their arms down before the take on, and that causes that little tap.
Yep.
Any energy in that sled going side to side and not straight ahead can cause a little variation. And then the driver feels it and goes around that first curve and taps. And when you tap like that, you're racing time.
Korean flags waving for Yunjung Won and the 4-man crew. Won yesterday for the 2nd consecutive week in the bronze medal position in the 2-man. The novelty hadn't worn off yesterday either. They were beaming like Cheshire Cats just as much as they were when they won their first ever ice sliding medal in Altenburg a week earlier.
They haven't figured out 4-man yet. If he keeps advancing his, look how quickly they were in the sled and down, and obviously well coached here too.
Flattered the wall though.
His learning curve though is unbelievable. Medal like he did last week in Altenburg. Medal again yesterday. Beat out Nico Walther on this track. Look at the technique. Look at the driver. Do you see any heads back there? They look pretty well buried in there. Very well. They fit well on the sled. Not too much bouncing around.
13th fastest start, 16th at the moment, ahead of Jan Verber and Lloyd Kosterg.
Late there. Turn, watch out here. He's gonna steer hard here. Watch the heads coming on and off the curve. Tells you how smooth the transition, very smooth. We aren't seeing the problems with these sleds as we saw the earlier sleds coming off the exit into the finish, hit hard. And I think because the tracks slow down.
Well, we're also not seeing the speed, so either they've gone for a more conservative runner that gives them better control but more friction, or the track is softening, and as a result they're getting better control on a runner that was chosen for harder ice. And after yesterday's very hard ice conditions, that's probably an easy
the last 10 sleds
place to be led.
Have that all easy entrance into that finish curve, and I think the track just doesn't have the speed it did for the first 10 sleds.
Yeah.
Here's going around the first curve. It's not perfect.
Too much of a steer, brought him down into the inside
That's
wall.
why that 0 has added such a challenge to this track. It's really giving the track. It used to be just a long straightaway in a curve 1. It was pretty boring. It's not boring anymore. Whoever come up with that, great idea.
Do you, don't you, do you, don't you? You tend to make mistakes either way. So next up, Stephen Holcomb. And he's going to rely on Carlo Valdez, Adrian Adams, and Sam McGuffey again, as he did on McGuffey in the 2-man yesterday. Holcomb nursing a major thigh strain.
That's it. Press it. Ready?
Yeah, 7/8 steps and in.
So this is probably been one of the slowest, if not the slowest start. Yep, 16th best start.
Quicker than Jan Verber's crew.
44.3's not bad, so he hopes to be within 2,500s here at the this clock. 23, that's about right. You know, 40th the next clock, and then hope to neutralize that bleeding the rest of the way down and his night training too.
This is damage limitation until he gets healthy. When you win, when you can win, win. When you can't win, get as much as you can out of it.
2 years ago, he was on his way to winning 6 straight races, including 4 in this sled.
Yep.
And then he came to this track and crashed, and he almost crashed there. Looked like something came off the sled.
That's leaves in the track again. Quite a few being blown in by the wind today.
Looks like
132, 133 at the bottom.
17, boy, did he fall off the pace there.
Yeah, 56.11, 300s behind 1 of Korea. And that's not a reflection on Holcomb or the kit. It's more of a reflection on the start as much as anything.
He's had problems down there. He crashed there a couple years ago in that curve 9. That ended his streak of, he was leading the race. And or second place when he crashed there. Right here, there's a little problem there. A little late, watch the skid. Sled's not coming. In fact, boy, the sled hits really hard on the exit of 9 and the take on of 10.
That's a tough transition.
Well, when you have that thigh injury and then you turn around and you do driving errors.
Second bar British sleds, Ollie Biddulph. Raced in the 2-man race yesterday. And hoping that they have slightly better fortune than Lamin Dean. Lamin clattered a lot of walls, few big skids on the way down, and then that brake failure. So 22-year-old Ollie Biddulph, very much the development driver for Team Great Britain. 18th last weekend in Altenburg.
These guys had a pretty good start last week. See if they can do it again. Top 10 start. So this should be a 14.
That's not a bad looking load, 528.
Push bar out.
Brakeman's got his head down, he's thumbed the lever, and he has not noticed
anybody
that it's not in.
Ooh, there it
Now
is.
it's back in.
What did that cost him?
It'll be a few hundreds, and he'll be wondering what that noise was and what the feeling was. So he got through the corner clean, and something at the back went clang.
We'll have to ask him if he heard that. They don't know what's going on behind him. They do know if all 3 guys get in the sled, but that's about it.
Driver sometimes isn't aware until a few corners in when the sled's all over the place because it's lighter than it should be. 20th place off 19th fastest start, so he's behind Loic Coster, 20th starter. This will be the 20th fastest run, and that leaves him in the danger zone. 1.28 behind, 56.56.
Brakes, they're calling. Well, this British sled, at least they could brake. Interesting to see what Team Le Mans Dean does with the runners.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what they're doing up there to those runners.
Yeah.
Okay, let's everybody get in, get down, watch the arms. Very nice, the number 3 and 2. You can see the leaves blowing around. It's pretty windy right in front of us.
It is.
And down here, look at the push bar. Boink. It goes in.
Yeah, looks like that was all it needed to just flick it back in.
Yeah, that could be bent too, though. They're going to have to check that out because those things are a little sensitive.
Yep. 20 sleds down, and the race is full. Everybody else now will have to try and push their way in So there is the top 20. Loic Kosteg, Ollie Bidolf on the bubble. 3 to come. Can they make it in? First up from Romania, 30-year-old Dorin Grigore from Bucharest. Personal trainer. The man at 2.
Over.
Man at 2, Florian Krasuin is the only experienced brakeman on the sled. The other 2 guys are new.
Well, now he's going to be like 45 or 50 hundredths back here, probably.
It's a lifeline for Ollie Bidolf.
Now it's a question of can he get within Ollie Bidolf? I don't know. But that start mishap. Good driver.
It's a bit tough to get in, isn't it?
Listen to the sled, pretty loud.
Got a very different sound to it, doesn't it? The sled manufacturers, they all have to work within the same box, if you like, the same parameters, but they come up with different solutions.
He might slip in and beat Ollie Bidolf.
Oh, not far behind, only 500ths out of the race.
That was all to start.
Yep. Were it not for the start, he would have been
pretty good drive down the track. 133 kilometers, 82.6 in the finish. Listen. What happened?
It's the load, you know. It's an inexperienced team.
Driver's in clean. 2. He didn't wait. Is he waiting for the 3 guy?
Now Florian Krasuin at 2, waiting for the others to get in behind him.
Something that, I don't know, they ran too far or something, because they're way out of the drive lines and they aren't even settled. They aren't even down. And the pain.
Dorin Grigore, 500ths of a second out of the race. Well, 2 more sleds, and both from Eastern European countries. For the Czech Republic, the second Czech sled, Radek Matusek.
Didn't qualify in the top 20 yesterday, the 2-man. See how this guy's doing. Not bad.
First race weekend of the season for them in World Cup action as well, like their teammate Jan Verber.
So, to get them in the race, if they're 3,500s here, I say they're going to get in 31. Got a chance. Always got to, you know, next is the exit, the entrance in the Kreisel. Let's watch how quiet he is on the entrance here. It'll be real important right here. Not good. That's not good.
Race, no.
Wasn't good.
18th place though on the split times. See how he is off the Kreisel and out of turn 9. If he can hold it together then, he could put himself into this race. 19th.
Rough transition into that.
Still in. At the moment he's in. Ollie Bidolf is out.
That was a dangerous run right there. He could lose a lot more time. This is going to be close.
Still in the race, 20th place.
Good for him.
And he's in, and Bidolf is out. He's in by 800ths of a second.
All right. But let me tell you something. That's not the way you want to look at a bobsled curve coming up.
Hey, that's what he considers to be winning ugly. It's still winning. He's still in the race with 1 to go. It's his first World Cup start of the season.
Climbs high here in 10. Look at the heads. Look at this. High, and then on the outlet, he doesn't steer off.
Oh, that's when you see how much articulation there is in the cowl, in the chassis, and in the axle.
Needless to say, it was maxed out.
That, I think, is his first ever 4-man World Cup drive. He's raced 2-man before. I'm not sure he raced 4-man last year. That's something I didn't think of looking at before we came on air. Final sled then is a man who has raced 2- and 4-man for several years in the World Cup. From Serbia, Vuk Radjenovic, a former wrestler, and his father represented Yugoslavia in the games in Sarajevo.
And the brakeman, Alexander Bundalo, they don't have a uniform big enough to fit him. He's 6'9". You figure from Serbia, got to be a basketball player. No, volleyball player.
Struggle, real struggle for Peter Jurek at 2 to try and get in behind the behind the driver.
Well, that 6'9" guy's got some long legs. I don't know where they're putting those long legs in this little bathtub.
There are two ways of riding a sled. Either your legs go around the guy in front, or
straight up.
Occasionally, yeah, especially for the man at 2, and I think that's the way that Vuk has it, is the guy at 2 rides what we call cannonball. So he's sat on his backside with his feet in front of him and his knees under his chin.
Really comfortable.
The single most uncomfortable thing on the planet.
Good lines by that. Little guy just jinxed him.
23rd at the start and 23rd down the hill. So he does not make the cut. So Vugrad Doran Gurori of Romania and Oli Bidolf of Great Britain will be joining the spectators and not taking part in the second heat. The top 20 is set. So we have 2 sleds from the Czech Republic in, only 1 from Great Britain, no Romanian, no Serbian.
Well, the lines, well, he drove. You could see the back end of the sled there. He just drove hard off that curve and drove it right into the wall. Goggles, not many guys wearing goggles out here. Kelly Humphreys, that's about it, right?
Yeah, we were saying yesterday, does Justin Kripps still wear goggles? Don't recall. Who doesn't? Well, Max Arndt doesn't. For a start, our 4-man world champion leads after the first of our 2 heats here on the track in which he won the championship in March this year. However, Rico Peter of Switzerland is 1/100th of a second behind him, and 1300ths covers the top 5. A quarter second takes you out to 6th position. We have a Winterberg battle royal for the medals coming up. 7 sleds covered by 2400ths of a second, with a traditional Winterberg tie for 6 between Stulnev and Malbardis, and as near a tie as you can get between Max Arndt and Rico Peter for the lead. Down the 20, the field is cut after the 20th sled, and that is the second of our Czech Republic sleds of Radek Matusek. So Great Britain's Oli Bidolf, Doran Grigori of Romania and Vuk Radjenovic will not go. And what happens to Lamin Dean with gouged runners and broken brakes? Well, you're going to have to join us in 30 minutes to find out as we go 20 down to 1 to decide the medals in the 4-man competition in Winterberg.